TV.
Best of TV from 2022.
I need to make a disclaimer
You
ahead
need to
of
make
this
a
list.
disclaimer.
Yeah,
Or
I think
give a disclaimer?
make a disclaimer. I think
Give
that's
one.
fine.
I think give one. Anyway, your disclaimer.
Because I've watched very little TV this year.
Why is that? Like, I was thinking about this before we came on. Why have you watched so... I'm trying to get my grammar right. I wouldn't say so few TV shows or so little TV shows, but like, why haven't you watched so much telly, Mug?
Well, I have watched a lot of telly.
Oh, but you've been watching wrestling.
Yeah, 2022 was the year I started watching wrestling again. Because for years, when we were chatting to people and they got that I watch wrestling, I said, I don't watch it now, I just know a lot about it. But since I've booked WrestleMania, I have started watching again. And that is a big commitment. Like, because just WWE have like 7 hours of first run TV shows per week.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Mark's going to WrestleMania, which is the biggest wrestling show. Is that how I would describe it?
It's the flagship wrestling show for WWE.
For WWE.
It's kind of like, it works as the season end. So everything kind of works towards WrestleMania in March, April time. And then it starts again after that.
And it's in LA
Yes.
later on this year. So it's important for you to kind of know where the storylines are getting up to then, isn't it?
And
yeah,
where
I
they've
hadn't
come
really
from
appreciated
as well.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important for you to no, I suppose it's a bit like, I'm not, and just don't get me wrong, I'm just making an example. It's a bit like watching a soap and getting to like Christmas Day, and if you know the big flagship Christmas Day episode where Dirty Den comes and wants a divorce from Ange. There's a reference for kids of the 80s. You know, that sort of thing. You need to know the build up to that before you can. So you need to watch all the shows. You have been watching an awful lot of it. I mean, when I come downstairs on a morning, usually there's some wrestling on.
On a Saturday morning, yeah. Because there's 2 shows that go live on Friday nights.
Mm-hmm.
SmackDown's on, and also in the UK, AEW Dynamite's on. So, yeah, like... Yeah.
And I think aside from that as well, there have been some shows that will pop up on my top 10 list that you started with me and then didn't finish. Or, I'm going to use the word flagship again because I quite like it. Flagship shows that have been on the telly that you just haven't watched. And I've watched them and you haven't. And I've been quite surprised that you haven't gone to these shows that have had a lot of attention, for example.
Yeah.
So I think your television mind has been slightly muted this year.
I was concerned that I might not have seen 10 shows. I have. And I've managed to get a list without Westworld on it, so that's a positive.
It's important.
At one point, I was worried that I might have to put My World Kitchen or...
Which is a kids' show, for anyone listening.
or Hey Dougie or Bluey.
I think they're very good. I've seen some people in top 10 ends the year or best of, and putting things like Bluey and other, you know, kid ostensibly kid show, but
Bluey's really good.
Yeah.
I know Blake's not a big fan of it yet, but yeah, Bluey's really clever.
He likes the theme tune, but he likes all theme tunes, for he is our son.
Shall we get on with our list?
Yeah, go on then. Can I say that my list is already out in the open?
Yeah, I've had to not look at that.
So I've been really, really lucky. Last year I was invited to contribute to the Custard TV podcast. It's a podcast that I've listened to for many, many years. It was you that got me into it. Mark's pulling a face because he's doing like a mock jealousy, isn't it? Or you've been off moonlighting somewhere else on a different podcast.
Cheating on me, I think.
Cheating.
Yeah.
But yeah, we followed the Custard TV for absolute years. They've been going for well over a decade and putting out, you know, just hundreds of hours worth of content over the years, seeing shows every single week and coming and telling the world about them and reviewing them. And they asked for new contributors, and I sort of ummed and ahed about it for a long time, thinking, well, you know, if I stick my neck out, will I just get a sort of thanks but no thanks sort of email? And I got a very, very kind email in response from Matt, who's one of the host of the Custard TV, just saying, come on. And so I had sort of my trial go, and then I was invited back, which I was very excited about. And then on that episode, Matt asked me for my top 10 TV shows of the year. And then I was so, so excited to see it arrive on the Custard TV website, thecustardtv.com. So, you know, my first ever, like, with other people who properly do TV reviews. Like, you know, when you see your name in the list of contributors and you think, wow, I've made it. So, yeah, thanks very much, Matt and Luke, who run the Custard TV, for making my Christmas wish come true. But it does mean that my list has been out there for quite a while, and you have done very well not to look at it.
Yes. Yes. That's it. Yes, I want it to be a surprise.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I also didn't want it to influence my list.
Of course.
Not that I've got any true crime on the here. So yeah. Do you want to go first?
Yeah.
Same format as films. So if it's going to appear later in our lists, just give each other a nod, and we'll brush over it and get to it later.
Okay, so my number 10 is something that I don't think will appear in your list because I don't think you finished it. Or if you did, you finished it after me. We started watching it together, and it's Russian Doll Season 2.
Yeah, I loved Russian Doll Season 1, and I just didn't have that much of an interest in Russian Doll Season 2. Obviously, the whole point of the show changed, and it wasn't... Russian Doll Season 1 is a Groundhog Day type show. This has a different conceit, and I found it less interesting. Yeah, I know that you really enjoyed it.
I really did, which is why it's at number 10. I think
Fair enough,
season 1 was much lighter. It was Natasha Lyonne at a party, going to the toilet and finding herself just going through some sort of time travel portal, wasn't it? The loop. And finding herself just doing the same day over and over again. Like you say, it's Groundhog Day. And it was her friends that she bumped into. There's a reveal later on in the series that something else is happening as well. There was an interesting twist.
Yeah.
So it really carried you through. And whilst there were moments of darkness and there were moments of sadness, it was very pacey and it was much lighter in tone. Whereas season 2 still has that time travel conceit. This time it's taking place elsewhere, it's on a train, and we're going to a different point in time. It's not necessarily the Groundhog Day. I don't want to give too much away. It's not necessarily that Groundhog Day reveal again, but we're looking at time travel, and we're looking at some other really weird timey-wimey things going on. And it's much, much darker. But for me, it's a lot richer. And I wondered whether she would get away with, because she's produces the show, stars in the show. It's very much a female-led production from what I understand. I don't think she could get away with just doing the Groundhog Day thing all over again. It's another day. And in this particular series, she's approaching her 40th birthday. So we've moved forward in time. And there's a lot that comes with that, this big birthday. And people who are in her life are not very well and maybe, might not be with us for much longer. So there's all that sort of, that idea of time moving on and things changing. And there's a lot to do with her family. The thing that I found really interesting and also quite affecting is that Natasha Lyonne is Jewish and her family are Jewish, and there is a plot point within this season that talks about what happened to Jewish people's belongings when the Nazis came, and I found that incredibly affecting, and I hadn't seen anything like that done within this context on television.
Okay.
So that's why it's my number 10.
Okay. I don't think I'm going to talk about my number 10 yet.
Okay.
Because my number 10 is Game of Thrones House of the Dragon.
Let me just check. Yes. We'll not be talking about it for a little while.
Okay. Well, that's what I expected. So what's your number 9?
So my number 9, again, is not something that you've seen. This might be happening quite a lot.
Shall I go get a drink or a magazine to flick through?
And actually, you know what? I don't think you would have watched this. Although, we'll come on to it. So it's Karen Pirie. Karen Pirie is a crime drama, a fictional crime drama based on Val McDermid's books. I understand there's more than one. There's a series.
Is it spelt a funny way?
Well, it's Karen as in Karen, and Pirie is Pirie.
What? Every time I see it, I think it's called Kiri Piri or something like that. Apparently
Well,
not.
that would
Apparently,
be fun.
I was like, is it even spelled differently? No, just it's in my head.
Well, Karen Pirie is the name of the lead detective in the show. She's a young woman. She's done really well in her career. She's quite snappy, I would say. She says it how it is, and that's one of the things I really liked about the character. when she has relationships with people, we don't see her sort of moping, wondering if they're going to text her, or she's very much in control of her own destiny, and I really, really like that about her. She is put in charge of a cold case. It's been cold for 25 years. The reason she's been put in charge of it is because there is a podcast that has been launched where a young woman is looking into why things may have gone wrong in the original investigation. So they want a young woman to be the face, and so obviously Karen finds that really quite annoying. She really goes into what happened within the case. She puts her absolutely everything into it, and I did not see where this was going. I enjoyed the characters. I thought it was just a breath of fresh air. It wasn't that she had some sort of dark, dismal secret, or she had some sort of addiction issue, or you know, when you get all those tropes with detectives,
Yes.
they didn't just make her what you typically get in an older male detective in these TV shows, which absolutely comes from the Val McDermid stuff. And you know, Val McDermid is an absolutely brilliant crime.
I mean, I genuinely
writer.
don't know.
I
but
know
yeah.
you don't know it. I know you don't know it, but I just loved it. And interestingly, it just hasn't come up on many people's lists. But Boyd Hilton put it on his list. And I don't normally message celebrities, but I actually messaged him on Twitter the other day and just was like, yay, like, I'm really pleased that someone with your sort of influence within the TV industry has talked about Karen Pirie, because I just felt it had been lost. So
Okay.
yeah, really chuffed. And he liked my tweet, which is very exciting. As someone who used to buy Heat, you know, religiously in my youth.
Well, there we go. My number 9
Yes.
might be something that we're talking about later.
Okay.
And it's Stranger Things season 4.
We'll be talking about it relatively soon.
Okay. What's your number 8 then?
My number 8 is Stranger Things.
Okay. Like, it's my number 8, but that's obviously still the bottom half of all TV I watched this year. But I think this was a mixed season. I think its highs were spectacularly high.
Totally agree.
I think it hurts from having the cast so split, and that might be down to COVID. I would imagine it probably is, but there are entire episodes entire storylines where I'm like, did we really need that? Did we really need to go and see Dustin's girlfriend from season 3 and have an annoying episode of there? And
I wonder if they're going to bring her in later seasons though, so it would be weird if they just didn't. But I totally agree that the splitting of the plot lines, the splitting of the people, just meant that you were often following a storyline that you didn't care about.
That's it,
and
exactly.
waiting to go back to a one that you really wanted to spend time with.
yeah, 11 sat in the institution for 2 episodes, just did not work for me, and all I wanted to see was how Hopper was doing in Russia and how
And similarly for me, strangely enough, because obviously David Harbour, great love of mine, didn't really care about the Hopper stuff. He wished he had stayed, you know, dead.
Well, I think the fact that he immediately undid the thing is a big crime of storytelling. But yes, I'd rather watch that than the stoner guy who apparently hooked up with some hot woman just because for comedy reasons.
I don't think that's right. What are you talking about? The stoner guy? Are you talking about the guy that lived in a caravan that's become quite famous now? The actor that played the guitar, and he was there's a very famous scene where he plays guitar on a roof.
It's the pizza salesman guy.
Oh God, right? Yes. No, I totally get that. I'm not a fan of of him and Jonathan going around in a pizza van. Did nothing for me, because I was about to say I think the standout performer and the person who's got the most out of this, other than Sadie Sink, is the guy who has the long hair. He's the rocker.
Yeah.
He's there from the beginning. He's He's part of the gang, isn't he? He's part of the Hellfire club. He's Joseph Quinn. Yes, that's his name. I think he is has come out of this doing really, really well, and I'm really interested to see what he does next.
And I see Metallica get a bit of money back
Yeah,
from
exactly,
that they lost during that Napster era.
Napster.
I hear they're a bit short, so yeah.
What's your go for number 8 then?
My number 8 is Miss Marvel.
Oh, okay. Because I've heard that because obviously I've listened to a lot of the best of 2022's podcasts, and people are giving it a mention, but you're looking at me funny, what's wrong?
No, I'm not.
Alright. People are giving it a mention, but it's not coming up in sort of like the best ofs.
This, for me, was the first time in the Marvel TV universe that they tried something different. Apart from WandaVision, which I think, but a lot of it's just blended into one for me. Hawkeye was fun, but it had its moments, but it was just an action thing again. But this, trying to market to younger teenage girls, was brilliant. And obviously I am not, and never will be, and never shall be, a young teenage girl. But it was utterly charming. I mean, Imal Vellani plays Miss Marvel, and it's one of her first roles apparently, and she just nails the chemistry. It was fun, it was light, it didn't feel like it was homework for a future film, although there are elements of that where it will tie into. It just felt like a fun story about like a high school's type story. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Did you finish Miss Marvel?
You know what? I can't remember, which might... Yes, I did, because something happens at the end. There's like...
Yes, a musical cue.
Musical cue
Yeah.
that, they roll my eye at. So yeah, I did finish it. It was fun. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed watching it. It just didn't make it onto my list.
Fair enough. What's your number 7?
My number 7 is Sherwood, which is nothing to do with Robin Hood.
I have seen the first episode of Sherwood.
Have you?
Yes.
That's interesting, because you know, like I was saying before, because I actually didn't come back to it, with Karen Pirie, really reminded me of Unforgotten.
Yes.
And
I know you said that when you were describing
Unforgotten, so I thought, oh, maybe you would watch Karen Pirie. And then Sherwood's another one, because Sherwood is, for anyone who doesn't know at home, it's a BBC drama. It was really, really well thought of. It got lots of critical acclaim, and so many people in it. It's just every time someone comes up on screen, you go, oh, it's them. It's set in a Nottinghamshire mining village, and there's a shock murder. And we'll go no further than that. But it's really about the history of this community, which was divided during the miners' strike. So I really love that callback. You don't get it very often, to things that have happened within the miners' strike in these areas, and how that has played out through the generations.
Yeah.
So what did you think?
I thought it was a perfectly fine show that I had very little interest in.
Okay.
It was...
That makes me sad.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why people like it. It just wasn't for me. Brilliant acting. Yeah, there was something about it just didn't stick. It was all very... It's all a bit dour.
It's yes. Hello. It's a shame that you didn't go on to episode 2, because things take a turn in episode 2, and I think you might have found yourself a bit more interested.
There are obviously characters that they are putting out there in episode 1 where I'm like, ooh, why are you in the background somewhere? So yeah.
And there's lots of people that pop up in different, as time goes on. I mean, the cast is amazing. You got David Morrissey as your lead, Leslie Manville, Robert Glenister, Kevin Doyle, Claire Rush, but you're listing people off. Stephen Tomlinson pops up at one point as well, which made me very happy.
Yeah, not for me.
Okay. That's sad. I'm sad that you watched it and then you decided that you weren't going to go for it, because I thought it might pull you in, and yeah, that's a shame. Your number 7.
My number 7 is Barry season 3.
Okay.
I think this is a season where it officially turns from a comedy with a little bit of drama in it to a full-on drama with a little bit of comedy in it. Absolutely amazing performances by the entire cast. Bill Hader has announced himself as one of the giants of TV, and I do not know where that came from, and that's not the last time I'll say that about someone who you associate with comedy this list. There's a scene in episode 1 of season 3 which is one of the toughest pieces of acting I've ever seen someone do, and it's a scene where he's discussing, he goes to his girlfriend's work and he is having a conversation, needs a favour from her, and it is one of the toughest things I've ever seen.
How do you mean?
Well,
You're saying it's a topic
it
piece
turns
of
into
acting?
it turns into what is essentially emotional abuse. He's screaming at her. She is looking scared. There are people looking and witnessing this who do not know where to place themselves. And from a thing about a hitman who joins an acting class from season 1, with a Saturday Night Live legend who was in Superbad, I did not see this coming. It is strong. It's about grief. It's about post-traumatic stress. It is at times a tough watch, but then there is also the most amazing concept episodes where it's just something happening for the entire half-hour runtime.
Isn't the Fonz in it? That's the only thing I know.
Henry Winkler is one of the standout performers in this. This is probably one of the most consistent shows on TV. I really think you'd like it if you ever gave it a chance. But
I have seen episodes because you watched it. This is many years ago. You were watching it because obviously you've watched through all the series, and it just wasn't. It didn't.
I think you're watching scenes out of context.
Yeah.
And I think if you understood the relationships and everything, because the relationships are so well written in this as well. Yeah, it's such a good show. I'm so looking forward to season 4 if we get it. Your number 6.
My number 6 is Under the Banner of Heaven, which, surprise, surprise, is a crime drama.
Is this Andrew Garfield?
This is Andrew Garfield. Playing a Mormon detective within a Mormon community. And again, there is a murder, and he has to investigate members of the community and the difficulty that causes for him as someone who is really faithful member of the Mormon church. And you see that in the way that his family is organised. There were parts of it that made me very uncomfortable because the wife is performing very much a wifely role in that very traditional. She
Wifely,
doesn't see,
is that a word?
yeah. But you know what I mean. Like it's very very traditional.
Yes.
Gender roles, and the children are going to be brought into the church, and you see the way that. And we have this with all religious organisations. You see the way that power can be taken, and you can do good things with power and you could do not so good things with power. And just really interesting how he has to tussle with his faith and tussle with what he feels that he knows, and then it really takes you into the history of the Mormon religion. And I just found it fascinating to learn about that faith, but also to see that tension and that struggle. And Garfield is just wonderful. I don't think I've seen him do anything, awful ever. He's just so good. And then you've got people in the background like Rory Culkin and Sam Worthington playing a really really good role, and Wyatt Russell as well.
If you're gonna lie about Sam Worthington, at least make it plausible.
I think, and he's not really recognisable from his Avatar character at all.
He's not blue.
He's not blue. I've really really enjoyed it. I had to try and stop myself from watching it all at once, which I absolutely failed to do. And I've been recommending it to anyone who will listen.
So my number 6 is Starstruck season 2.
Yeah, you really like Starstruck, don't you? Was
Yeah.
Star Trek on your list last year?
No, I think it was on 2 years ago. 'Cause
Okay.
I think that was when it was first out. So Starstruck season 1 is Rose Matafeo has a one-night stand on New Year's Eve with someone who she wakes up and realises is the world's biggest action film star. And they don't get together at that point, but we revisit them all the way through the year when they bump into each other. It comes to summer and she might send a text to him and say, "How are you doing?" And then they meet up and they still touch base and they still clearly have feelings for each other and like each other, but don't commit a relationship because they both have very different lives. Season 1 had one of the most perfect endings to a season I've ever seen, and I was so annoyed when I heard they were going to do a season 2 because it was such a perfect ending. But they pulled it off. This is very much spoilers for season 1. This is very much what happens when you are starting a relationship with someone, and you have to meet the family, and you have to mix with their friends, and then things go wrong and you're still in the same sort of circles but not necessarily. It's utterly charming. Rose Matafeo is absolutely brilliant in it, just as this sort of very modern woman who knows what she wants, and doesn't take any shit. I think this is completely underwatched. I recommend this to you, and you did not like it at all.
No, I didn't. I watched, it's not all of season 1, but I watched an episode of season 1, didn't I?
Yes.
Maybe 2, and it just didn't do anything for me, which is a real surprise to me, but maybe I was in the wrong mood. I might go back and revisit it and see how I feel now.
There's also a brilliant little cameo apart from Russell Tovey in this season, playing a director who's an absolute dickhead. Like, just every time he came on screen, just my face lit up. Just he plays it so well. But yeah, really, really recommend it. It's all on the iPlayer. It's a BBC 3, I think it is, TV show, and I'd really recommend it to anyone who just wants a daft rom-com. Mm-hmm. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is House of the Dragon. We got there eventually. That was your number 10, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So what was it about House of the Dragon that led it to be on your list? For some people, it's the worst TV show of the year, or in their worst lists, or it's sort of like a guilty pleasure. Why is it on your list this year?
Because it's better than Westworld, Obi-Wan, and Moon Knight, and Cat Burglar, and The Man Who Bought Cricket, which are literally the only things below it.
I enjoyed The Man Who Bought Cricket.
Yeah. I think this is a missed opportunity. I enjoyed it while I was watching it, but for Game of Thrones to come back, it seemed like, right, Game of Thrones had so much patience with its storytelling. Like, we saw the walkers in the first episode, and they didn't come up until 7 seasons later. We saw dragon eggs at the end of the first episode, I believe, or certainly in the first season, and we didn't see a dragon until like season 2, and we didn't see a dragon just burn a city down until season 5. These might be a season out either way, but yeah, this straight away. Oh, dragons come along, burn.
Well, it's what would have happened at the time.
Yeah, but it's fiction, so
yeah. But it is fiction, and it's meant to be. In Game of Thrones, the series that we saw was many, many years later. This is a portrayal of what was happening at the time when the dragons were around all the time.
I mean, I enjoyed it every time it was on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look forward to it each week, but I enjoyed it every time it was on. I think it's probably
so interesting, because this is why it's higher up in my list. I looked forward to it every week, and from a show that I was saying to you, what were they doing? They shouldn't be doing. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to watch it. It's going to be shit. And then I watched it, and I just thought, wow, this is just the performances, particularly the younger cast. This is and this was quite controversial, wasn't it, when it came out, that there's there were various time jumps within the series, but the young cast in particular, I think, are fantastic. And I actually found it really, really difficult to adjust to their older counterparts when that happened. One of the other reasons why I've put this so high is because of the depiction of birth within this series. Now, as someone who suffered a birth trauma, you would think that I would want to stay as far away from depictions of birth that might be traumatic or indeed are traumatic. There are, and this is a trigger warning for anyone who's going to watch House of the Dragon or is going to listen to this description, but there are depictions of stillbirth. There are depictions of what we would call there are depictions of child loss, and there are full-on depictions of birth, really in your face, full-on depictions of birth. And you just don't see that. And it's a theme of the show that the birthing bed is the battleground. In becoming pregnant and having children, that is where the war occurs for women, particularly in this show. And so I really appreciated that theme, and I appreciated the depiction of the violence of birth, of the of when things go wrong. because as someone who has been through that experience in various guises, you kind of want to lift the curtain on those things that are often swept under the carpet, and you want to be able to say to the world, these things happen, and we shouldn't be frightened to talk about it or ashamed. It shouldn't be swept away as a dirty secret. So I really appreciated that. Now, I know it has caused controversy because there's some people who said, I couldn't take it, I couldn't take the gore, or it was relentless because there are multiple scenes of loss.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, it was too much, and or perhaps arguing that it was done for effect.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way as someone who's been through that experience, and I feel sort of like quite right on in my
Yes.
sort of like, well, look, I've been through this, and if I'm saying that I appreciated it being there, I feel quite justified in my argument, although I know that there'll be other people who've had exactly the same experience as me who will run a mile from this.
I feel I've been overly negative on this, but I think the action sequences are stunning. I think that the characterization, well, the acting, I think is just perfect all the way from start to finish. Like, you believe that every single person in this is the person who they are portraying, and some of the political turns really, really did it for me. I just kind of wish they'd left it.
Okay.
But, I mean, what are you going to do when there's money on the table?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it was the best thing that could have come out of clearly a money-grabbing exercise, personally.
Yes. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. What are we up to? Is it number 5?
I've just done my number 5,
Yeah.
so it's your number 5.
My number 5 is The After Party,
The After Party. Why can't I remember what this is?
because you didn't watch this at all.
I know, but I normally kind of know what a show is. What's The After Party?
The After Party is an Apple TV show. This is a group of former classmates meet up for their high school reunion, all from very different backgrounds. One of them is a rap musician.
A rap musician.
God, do I sound 42 there?
Yeah, you are. Is he Eminem
Well,
or 50 Cent?
he's Dave Franco. So, yeah, very much. He's called Xavier.
Right.
So they go back to his crib for an after party,
Nice.
at which point he falls off a balcony and is killed.
Oh, not nice.
That's episode 1.
Okay.
Tiffany Haddish arrives as the police officer to try and get to the bottom of this, and we see her interviewing the other members of the cast episode by episode. And each episode is from a different person's point of view and is told in a different way.
So is this a crime drama that I haven't watched?
Or
is it comedy?
It's comedy, but
Right.
it's more conceptual crime drama with a touch
like a
of
murder
comedy.
mystery?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it like a sort of... It feels now that you describe it a bit like a Knives Out sort of...
I'd say that's the tone it's closest to.
Oh, wow. Maybe I should watch it.
So what you have, for example, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, but E.K. Barinholtz plays Brett in this, and when he's telling this back, it's like a Fast and Furious action drama where he's pedal to the metal, driving to the reunion. When you have Ben Schwartz's, there's Jasper, who is Xavier's former bandmate, his is like a high school comedy, a little bit High School Musical-y. Just Dimitri's in this. Sam Richardson is probably the lead as Anik, who I love in I Think You Should Leave. He's got some small roles in there. Dave Franco, like I say, is perfect as this annoying rapper guy. But yeah, there are animated episodes. There are episodes that take place like a rom-com. There are episodes that take place like I say, like an action movie. This is so clever, and I think you'd really like it. It's on Apple Plus, like I say, and hideously underseen, but it really goes places, and I think as a concept, I think it's absolutely genius. They're doing a season 2 apparently, which I'm not too happy about because again, I think it's a perfect one and done. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. Again, it's just half an hour, so it's really easily consumed. So yeah, really check this out. It's really fun.
My number 4 is Severance.
We're not talking about that yet.
Okay.
My number 4 we won't be talking about yet, I don't think.
Okay, what's your number 4?
Yellow Jackets.
Yep, we're not talking about that for a while.
Okay.
So my number 3 is Andor.
Okay. So that's something I've not seen.
Did you get part way into it? Did you start it? I can't remember whether you like gave it a bit of a go.
So you watched the first episode while I was down here, and I was like, I'm not interested in this. Then I've heard so much good stuff about it that I went back and revisited and watched the first 10 minutes where he appears in a bar and there is Jez Quigley from Coronation Street in there. I thought, this looks great, and then I got distracted and lost my point, and I've never gone back to it.
Yeah. But now you've clearly heard all of the critical acclaim.
I've heard the critical acclaim.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens in it.
Which is fabulous, because you don't want to. You want to be... you want to be with... You want to kind of have that experience that everyone else had at the time. It's fantastic. And who would believe it was Star Wars? I mean, there's no lightsabers, there's no... there's no Skywalkers. All of those things that you come to expect from a Star Wars show. And even, you think about The Mandalorian or... no, I'm not going to say any of the other... I was about to say The Book of Boba Fett or Kenobi, but they are rubbish. But The Mandalorian in particular, where you felt that it was showing you other worlds that you hadn't seen before in the Star Wars universe. They were still relying on things like a baby Yoda or the lightsabers or...
We need to go to Tatooine.
Yeah, exactly. That you're just not there. There are people who you know from the Star Wars films, but they are fleshed out in a really interesting way, and it's much more about the politics of what is going on. The world building's amazing, the acting's amazing. It is a slow starter though, and I found myself... It took me probably 4 or 5 episodes before I really got into it, and then it builds and builds, and it changes as time goes on as well. So what you think it's going to be, it doesn't end up being. It reveals itself. I'm about to still use like an onion metaphor, but we've just watched Glass Onion, and so I feel like it's in my mind. But it really, there's layers and layers to it, to the point where when you get to the end, you kind of want to go back to the beginning and go, oh, I thought I was watching this show in episode 1. I thought I was watching quite a standard lone man in on a planet, maybe getting up to no good, has friends who are trading in things illegally. That sort of very... you've seen that story before in Star Wars, but it really isn't that. When you think back and think through what's happened, I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to see where it goes from here.
Okay, I mean, I will watch it. You should watch
it. I think it'll get a number of awards. I think there'll be some acting gongs as well for people that I won't talk about, because there are people that pop up later on down the line. One of the most exciting things about Andor is that it was filmed all over the UK. So I'm like looking up the filming locations, and there's like Buckinghamshire, Essex, Perthshire, Argyll and Bute, Woking, London, Dorset. It was filmed in the UK. So
I mean, like I say, I saw Jez Quigley there, and the flatmate from...
That's what I'm saying.
I think I may destroy you. I think I may destroy you.
That's what I'm saying. There's loads of people that pop up from like Coronation Street and EastEnders, and
is Moxie in it? Did I see Moxie?
Yeah, exactly.
From Off We Descend.
Yeah, so there's loads of people, and other people I won't mention because it's a spoiler to go into it. But you just kind of want to go, yes, that's amazing. That person and that person's in. And I remember listening to an interview with one of the people behind it saying, "Well, I just wanted that. I just wanted that actor in, and no one else would know that they're most well known in the UK for this. But they're brilliant character actors.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My number 3 is a TV show you started but didn't finish.
Okay.
Which is She-Hulk: Attorney at Law.
Oh yes, yeah. That's your number 3.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
This went places. This is obviously the new Marvel TV show, and I'm so glad that they've gone for something just completely different, as with Miss Marvel, in that they have just gone for a half-hour legal drama. However, this would have been sort of mid-table until the ending, where I paused the show and kind of looked around to go, is this for real? Like, is this actually happening? Like, what? Am I dreaming this? Or one of the most jaw-dropping finales without losing the spirit of the show, without, like, it's not a big Marvel, robots crashing into each other finale. Do you know anything about the finale?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I know what happens. I think you're right in saying that it's very much with the tone of the show. The show is very tongue-in-cheek.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say. So when I heard what had happened, I thought, oh, well, that fits with where this is going.
And it's so well done. There is a gimmick that is used where it's so perfectly done. And my jaw was on the floor. Anyone who's seen it will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it is so well done. And I mean, I was with this show from the moment that, like, Incredible Hulk is on the phone, Bruce Banner, and says, yeah, I was a different person then, literally. And yeah, to make that reference, and Tatiana Maslany, who plays She-Hulk, just sort of looks at this thing and goes, haha. I'm all over that. Like, it's got the best of Arrested Development in the sort of self-referentialness to it. And that's what I've been missing from my TV comedies for so long now. So, yeah. Number 3, best show of the year. What's your number 2?
So my number 2 is Yellow Jackets, which some people have put on their 2021 lists because I think it came out in America in 2021, didn't it?
It started in 2021. I think it started in 2021 on here as well.
Oh, okay.
But it finished in 2022.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put an incomplete TV show on my 2021 list, so yeah. I think it sits better here.
I'm happy to stick it in there, especially as it didn't make it in last year because we didn't start watching it until this year, to be honest with you. Absolutely loved Yellow Jackets. It's a show that very much appeals to me as a woman because it's all about female friendship, and it's got this dual timeline where you see a group of teenagers who are involved in a plane crash and have to wait it out, wait for rescue, and then you see them or certain members of that group in present day, and you get an inkling that major things have happened within that experience where, you know, in this crash in the middle of woodland, and then the horror elements come in, so you go backwards and forwards between the two timelines. Often that leads you to think, who's made it out alive, who hasn't, so there's like that mystery thriller lost sort of element to it. But this horror thing that I keep coming back to, there are some like really horrific moments both in the present day timeline but also in the historic timeline as well. Some very I'm going to say spooky because there's like almost like ghostly things, but then there's body horror, there's almost like mythical creature sort of type of things going on as well, but you don't know. That's, you know, I'm happy to actually make all of those descriptions because I don't actually know what is going on. It's sort of playing on all of those things, and you're not sure if they're seeing things, so you're seeing things because they've been through this horrific experience. I just find it absolutely fascinating as a show, and I love the relationships between the women as well.
It does feel like, for so many reasons, it feels like the kind of second coming of Lost to me. With the theorising, obviously with the plane crash, but with the theorising and with the getting to know people. The flash forwards obviously as well. I'm disappointed that I've seen some casting information for season 2.
Yes, so have I.
And it's revealed that people have survived that we didn't necessarily know. And that's obviously they're gonna have to release who's joining the cast, and that's bit of a shame.
The cast members that they've got on, I think it's perfect casting for those people.
Absolutely,
so you kind of go, oh, it's perfect casting, but it's a shame because we were very much in. I'm trying not to give too much right, but you're not told what you don't see them in present day, and there are events happening back in the earlier day, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Back in the day that you go, oh well, they might not make it out of that. So then to find out that their older selves have been cast, you kind of, oh well, they clearly do then.
Yeah. I can't wait for season 2.
But can't wait for season 2. I really hope it sticks to what it is, because I thought that first season was just amazing. And even to the point of looking at the opening credits, every time watching the opening credits, seeing more and more of what's happening and it unravelling that story more and more. Things like that. I think it had been really, really well thought through. And I'd like to see that carry on, rather than, oh, it's been a hit, let's just throw everything at it.
Yeah. My number 2 is Better Call Saul Season 6. What more can I say than a show that, for me, just absolutely stuck the landing? We knew where it needed to get to, and that was always going to be a risk. We knew what was likely to happen, and it did. And it did it quite early enough into the second part of this season, because it was released in 2 parts. And then an amazing coda that we've been seeing all the way through the typically the first episode of each season of this will show what happens after the show. Not after the show, like, hey, we're finished. Yeah, after the timeline that we see for them, after even the timeline of Breaking Bad, essentially. And then a beautiful coda, actually really heartwarming at points, but also heartbreaking at points. We didn't have to riot for various reasons. Sorry if that's a spoiler for anyone, but yeah. And this would have been so easy to fuck up. They didn't. I know there's plenty of people who couldn't quite get on board with the coda to this, but for me it worked perfectly, and that's why it's number 2. I didn't know what your number 1 was, but I've just seen you Google something, so bit of a spoiler for me.
Sorry.
I mean, if I thought about it, yeah.
I was trying to bring the cast list up so that I could credit everyone, because I wanted to, I often, when we're talking about this and we don't have notes and I don't look stuff up, and then I feel really bad afterwards because I'll find the name of 1 or 2 people and I'll forget loads of the others. And the show that I'm going to talk about is very much an ensemble cast, and I wanted to credit everyone. So yeah, you saw me Googling Bad Sisters to get the cast up. So Bad Sisters is Irish black comedy, which, funnily enough, is about a group of sisters. So you've got, here we go, this is why I Googled it. So you've got Sharon Horgan, who's also behind the production as well, Anne-Marie Duff, Eva Birtwistle, Sarah Green, Eve Hewson as the sisters. At the heart of the story is Anne-Marie Duff's character is married to John Paul, otherwise known as JP. She is in...
Is there anyone called John Paul that isn't known as JP?
I don't know.
Every single one that I know.
She is... Well, I'm going to say she's not in a happy marriage, even though she probably believes that she is, but he's very controlling. There's some really awful scenes of coercive control, but he's also just an absolute arsehole to everyone, but in that very passive aggressive way, so you wouldn't really know, you wouldn't see it from the outside. It's really insidious. You wouldn't see it from the outside, but the things that he does to each of the sisters and the way that he undermines them, the way that he spins them along, so sort of takes them along on the line and maybe makes promises to them and then goes, oh, I didn't say that, and then gets his wife to go and tell the sister that actually what he's promised isn't going to be happening. There's some really, really awful stuff, actually quite hard to watch at times as well, but if you've ever seen someone who's a narcissist who has that toxicity within them, you know that whoever's written this knows that person, because it's just so well done. And actually Clash Bang, who is the person who plays JP, does it beautifully. I mean, you absolutely hate him. And so it really very much revolves around the sisters trying to help Anne-Marie Duff's character, who is Grace, I'm going to get the name right, and to support her and try to get her back, and making sort of suggestions that she wasn't always the sort of the way that she is now, and you see her very meek, very mild, very alone. Even her own daughter says to her, like, you have no friends, you what do? You just sit around the house just cleaning the house all day, and she's been isolated and made to feel so and this is a very much a whodunit, and so each episode you will see that things, I mean, it reminds me not of, I know you were talking about the after party, it doesn't remind me of that and that conceit, but there are elements of, oh, we're with one sister this week and we'll see things through their eyes. Yes. Or we'll see how he makes their life a misery. Oh, next week we'll concentrate on a different sister and we'll see why she now wears an eye patch, for example, and what's happened in her relationship and how he has affected that. And just it builds and builds and builds. So to the point where I was on the treadmill, and I was going on the treadmill to watch the show, to have an excuse to watch it, because I thought, well, if I'm on the treadmill, I'm by myself and I can put my tablet up by the treadmill and I can watch another episode. It's just brilliant. The only thing I'm going to say about it, sort of in the negative, is that I thought it was perfect as one season and gone. I thought it resolved everything. I thought it ended on a really positive note. I just really, really liked the way that it was a full show. And they've renewed it for a series 2. And whilst I want to go back and spend time with these people, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen next. How are they going to resolve? What's the tension going to be? What's the conflict going to be? And this was a show that was very much around one thing, one very specific experience and event in this first season. And I want to be proved wrong. And I hope that the second series is just as compelling.
It sounds a bit Big Little Lies.
Yes. And I think comparisons were made. What I liked about it was it wasn't glossy. It was, I mean, some of the houses were beautiful, but some of the sisters don't own their own property. They're in a little flat. You can see them running around with like a big jumper on, that they've got second, it's not that sort of glossy Big Little Lies where they're all in glass fronted house, and even the people who are meant to be, in inverted commas, poor, are sending their children to this amazing school and running along the beach. That's something. It felt very true to life. It felt really lived in.
Would I like it?
I don't know.
I am not asking for a legally binding contract. Should I give it a go?
I think give it a go. Watch the first 2 episodes, I would say. Don't just leave it at episode 1. Go to episode 2 to get yourself into it. Because the first episode's a setup, and then the second episode gets you into what's actually, going on. Give it a go. I mean, it's been on so many people's lists. But I'm nervous now because you watched episode 1 of Sherwood and just didn't like it, and I thought that was wonderful.
Okay.
I think I know what your number 1 is.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, we can work it out.
Why?
Because you had something earlier on in the list that we said we'll have to come back to.
Oh, okay. So
what did you think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be the bear.
Do you know what? I've completely fucking forgot about the bear.
Where's the bear?
It's because I made a long list before this. And, the bear would definitely be on my list.
Yeah, I know it would. I thought it might be like number 1. Well, obviously, because I've just said your number 1's the bear. My
number 1's Severance.
Ah.
But if I have to...
Are you going to knock one off?
Oh, Hot D's gone. House of the Dragon's gone.
Really?
Yeah. The bear would 100% be in above She-Hulk, but below Better Call Saul, I think.
Okay. And why was that?
Why would the bear be in there?
Yeah, why would the bear be in there? Why are you getting so annoyed that you've forgotten the bear?
Because the bear is a brilliant TV show starring people I had virtually no idea about. And when I heard about people saying about the bear, because it came out in America before it came out here, as so many things do, I didn't really care about something set in a chef, in a greasy spoon cafe where they serve like beef hoagies and stuff like that.
I don't know what beef hoagie is.
It's kind of a Subway, like a sub
like
roll.
A sandwich.
Yeah. This is not about a chef. This is about grief. This is about getting to know people after they die. this is such a beautiful show, The Bear. But yeah, it's so good that I forgot about it because I did a long list a little while ago, and I forgot to put this on.
Oh, well, I'm glad I was there to remind you.
So yeah, watch The Bear. It's on Disney Plus. Yeah, God, that caught me unawares.
Yeah.
Shit.
So your number one is Severance.
My number one is Severance.
Yeah. And I really did toy with that as well. There were a couple that I was sort of... Yellow Jackets, Severance, Bad Sisters were the three. And Andor. Yeah.
We took a long time to watch Severance.
We did.
And look, partially down to me because during the middle of the year, I had some real problems. I had to step away from work for a bit, and watching something as intense as this about work was not top of my priority
Absolutely
list.
not.
And I think we left it at a very interesting point. And then when we came back, it was just, oh my God, this show's just gone through the gears and has absolutely hit like top speed. Talking about Yellow Jackets, about a show that kind of is the reveal of the last two episodes. I think I can't think of a bigger mouth on the floor moment than we have to go back from Lost.
Yeah.
I put it up there, and I put that up there as one of the highest things, one of the best reveals I've ever seen about a TV show.
Yeah, I agree.
So should we talk about what this is? Because
but not too much, because I really enjoyed the fact that I didn't really know about it.
Yeah, so this stars Adam Scott, who again is a comedy actor.
He was in Big Little Lies, wasn't he?
He was in Big Little Lies. I first saw him in Step Brothers. He plays the asshole brother-in-law who's married to... brother, actually, I think it is. Who's married to... It was Agatha all along.
Oh,
Kathryn
really?
Hahn.
Kathryn Hahn. Okay, I've not seen Step Brothers.
You do shock me.
Yeah, I know. Oh, comedy.
And yeah, he has a procedure whereby when he goes into work each day, his body completely separates. When he's in work, he can't remember his outside life. When he's outside of work, he can't remember his life inside work.
Yeah. No, he doesn't physically separate, just for anyone listening at home. It is a mental separation. So when he comes home at night, he can't remember anything about his working day. He doesn't know what he does. So when people are asking him, like, what do you do in that building? Because it's quite a... let's say people don't quite know what's going on within the building as well, within the company. So what do you do? And he's just like, well, I have no idea. And then when he's at work, he has no idea who he is outside of work. The reason he's gone through this procedure is because his wife has died. Yeah. And what he wants to do is go to another place where he doesn't remember that. Because when he's at home and he's sitting thinking about his wife and looking at photographs of her, and he's really depressed. You can see he's really, really suffering from, I would say, sort of mental health issues and really quite devastating grief. So you can really understand why he's gone through that procedure, because for X number of hours a day, he doesn't have to think about that. He's living in almost like just, complete, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like when you like oblivion.
Yes.
He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know what he does for a living. He doesn't know whether he's married, whether he's got children, where he lives, what he doesn't. And that's the same for the other people within the organisation that he works with. He works with a small team of people. Yeah. And all of them say, I was a bit tired this morning. Maybe my outie, as they call the people who were at home, maybe my outie has been to the gym today or something like that, which is really interesting.
And that sounds like a really interesting concept. But I wasn't prepared for how well done this storytelling is. I mean, the fact that this is done by Ben Stiller is, amazing. And I know that Ben Stiller's got chops from... I mean, directed... what's that film he directed in the mid... with Winona Ryder?
Oh, Reality Bites.
Reality Bites.
Yeah.
The first 15 film I ever went to see at the cinema. I got free preview tickets to The Big Breakfast. I had to ring a line, and I got in when I was about, I think probably about 13 or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, obviously, and he's obviously got an eye for film, but this is so stylized, especially like the design in the office where it's very static. And
there's no windows. Yeah. It's completely claustrophobic.
Well, yeah. And I mean, there is a waffle party scene, which I don't think I'm giving too much away by saying that, is one of the most amazingly, joyously depressing things I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's very odd, and you're not quite sure where you are in history. You're not quite sure where you are in the world. It really sets you off quite a lot. You know, you're just not quite sure. But like you say, those last 2 episodes where things are revealed, I was just like, what? Because we watched it separately. I was like running around. I had to go and read stuff about it afterwards to really understand what had happened. Things that I thought about people, you know, we watched episode after episode. Things that I thought were just absolutely, you know, taking that as read. You just go, right, okay. And really, really good setup for the next season, where we'll see where things go from there. And again, a bit like with Yellow Jackets, they've been casting announcements, and people like Gwendolyn Christie from Game of Thrones is going to be there. I think I
literally found out this evening when I was looking up about it. Alia Shawkat from Arrested Development getting its second things in it. Merritt Weaver, who I love.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Bob Balaban, who's such a good like comedic actor.
And you just wonder how they're going to come in the show. Who are they going to be? What are they going to be? You know.
But there is so much of this world that I feel is left to be explored that, like, it's easy to break them in because, well,
it's just fantastic. And you, again, a slow build. So partway through, I was thinking, do I really want to watch any more of this? Where is this going? And characters that I just didn't care about, right at the end, they became my favourite characters. Like it's a really, really slow build. So, cannot recommend it enough, obviously, because it's on my list too.
And absolutely, I mean, this is on Apple TV Plus. I think it's pretty cheap, Apple TV Plus. Like
you can get it for like free subscription for a while, like a give it a go sort of thing for free.
Like I got it. We've had like free trials through my Barclaycard. I think we've got 5 months free. And then Sky gave away like 6 months over Christmas. So
you can do like free trials.
I don't know if that's still on off, still going about at the time. But you've got Sky, just like go through the My VIP app that you get. I had to install it, but because we got 6 months free, so you might be able to blag it somehow. But highest recommendation for this. Highest recommendation for Bad Sisters.
Yeah.
And also, while you're there, watch the After Party because and it really pains me to recommend Apple because I've gone through life hating people with iPhones, or at least being an Android fan. So that's. I'm so gutted forgot about the bear.
I know. I'm sorry. I wondered whether to say, because I was like, I haven't seen the bear. Oh, it must be number 1. And then when you were like, well, you already know, and I was like, no, that doesn't make sense in my mind.
Well.
It is what it is. See, these things are very organic.
Yes. Yes.
And obviously, disclaimer, as you will have heard if you've listened to our top 10 films of 2022, disclaimer is, these are the shows that we watched last year. We haven't watched everything, and there'll be some things that we started and didn't finish. It's just the things that stay in your mind, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think we need to come back quite soon with a main show.
Yeah, we've been watching quite a lot actually. TV, film. Lots of things to talk about.
But thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
I hope someone's found something new to watch on this and not something that's going to make you hate us anyway.
But let us know what you think. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at The Honeymoon Pod. We'd love to know what your favourite shows of 2022 are. Are they on our list? Are they not?
And let us know what we've missed. Let us know what we need to see. Because I'm always looking for something.
Well, Mark couldn't even make like a top 10. So tell him everything that he needs to watch.
I watched so much last year that I forgot something. I didn't even put NXT on there.
Anything but wrestling, please.
Cool. Well, you can follow us. Are we done?
We've done that. Yeah, we've just done it. I've just done it as part of my blurb. Or you can leave us a star rating. I'm looking at Mark because he's just like mouthing what I need to say. A star rating on Spotify. because you can do that now.
Or a review.
Or a review
on
on Apple Podcasts. Thank you to everyone who's left us a review and a star rating so far. Every now and again, I have a little sneaky look at Apple Podcasts, and it's always really lovely to read the really nice reviews. So thank you, everyone who's taken the time to do that. I know it's sometimes a bit of a faff to go in, because I've done this myself, to go in and to do all of the, get on the shows and then leave the ratings and the reviews. So I really do appreciate everyone who's taken the time to do that for us. Thank you, everyone.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.